Hi, I am Rose. I come from a small, quiet village, a place where everyone knows everyone, where life is simple and dreams seem to grow in slow motion. I never thought life would take me here, to this new world of towering buildings and people who look like they've stepped out of a movie. But here I am, standing in the center of my college campus in America, with my life about to change in ways I never imagined. As I stepped onto campus, my heart pounded with both excitement and nerves. My eyes wandered over the vast campus. There were green lawns, sleek buildings, and students laughing, chatting, and enjoying life in ways I had only seen in movies. Everything felt surreal, like I was caught between reality and a dream. I had come here for higher studies, a top college in a world I had only read about. But now that I was actually here, the excitement mixed with something else, a small but steady fear. I couldn't help but wonder, would I fit in? Could I belong in a place so different from my home? I barely had time to process these thoughts before I had to check into the hostel. I followed a staff member down the hallway, stopping at a door that had my name on it. My heart skipped a beat as I saw another name too, Stella. When I entered the room, I saw her. Stella. She looked like someone straight out of a glossy magazine, perfectly styled hair, designer clothes, and an air of confidence that radiated from her like a spotlight. She glanced up at me, and her expression turned from indifferent to something colder. "Hi, I'm Rose," I said, extending my hand. She gave me a once-over, her eyes lingering on my simple clothes and my nervous stance. Finally, she shook my hand, but only for a moment. "Oh," she muttered, her tone dripping with disappointment. "You're my roommate." Her words stung, but I tried to brush them off. Maybe she just needed time to get to know me. But as days passed, it became clear Stella was every bit the cool girl I'd seen in movies, popular, stylish, and so very unattainable. And me? Well, I was just a small-town girl, lost in this glamorous world. Still, I did my best to focus on my studies, the reason I had come here. I found a small circle of friends who were also quiet and dedicated, like me. I was happy in my own little bubble, but Stella's presence was always there, like a shadow, reminding me of all the things I wasn't. A few weeks later, our lives had settled into a routine. I attended my classes, took careful notes, and studied every chance I got. Stella, meanwhile, was a whirlwind of social energy. She was invited to every party, every event, and had a new friend, or boyfriend, every other day. She became a kind of celebrity on campus, with everyone knowing her name, her style, and her stories. It didn't take long for our differences to draw attention. One day, as I was walking past the campus lawns where Stella was lounging with her friends, she called out to me, "Hey, old-fashioned girl." The group burst into laughter, and I felt my cheeks burn. I turned away, hoping to escape, but their laughter seemed to follow me, sticking to me like thorns. I ran back to our room, trying to hold back tears. I couldn't understand why Stella, who barely knew me, would say such hurtful things. That night, as I sat at my desk, forcing myself to focus on my books, Stella was getting ready for yet another party. She was trying on different outfits, tossing them aside in frustration. She glanced over at me, hesitated, and then, in an unusually soft voice, asked, "Rose, could you help me pick something to wear?" I looked up, surprised. "But, didn't you say I was old-fashioned?" She blinked, as if my words had struck her. For a moment, she looked lost, almost vulnerable. She bit her lip and muttered, "I know. I'm sorry. I was just being stupid." Her apology was awkward, but I could sense it was genuine. I nodded and helped her choose a dress. That night marked a turning point. I wasn't sure what had changed, but something had shifted between us. From that moment on, our relationship slowly transformed. Stella became more considerate, and I began to see a softer side to her. She started asking for my help with assignments, and in return, she offered to help me with things that once felt foreign, like choosing clothes and navigating social situations. We started spending more time together, studying, sharing meals, even watching movies in our room. Stella wasn't just my roommate anymore, she was my friend. We'd laugh about silly things, gossip about our classmates, and sometimes talk late into the night. She would tell me stories about her childhood in a wealthy family and the expectations that came with it. And I would tell her about my simple life back home, with its own set of challenges and joys. I began to feel a sense of belonging I hadn't felt before. With Stella by my side, college no longer felt so intimidating. One evening, there was a big party on campus. Stella convinced me to dress up, and after some nudging, I put on a red dress she had chosen for me. When I looked in the mirror, even I was surprised at how I looked. Stella's eyes widened when she saw me, and for a moment, she just stared. "You look amazing, Rose," she whispered. At the party, I felt like a different person. People were noticing me, complimenting me, and for the first time, I felt confident. But throughout the night, I kept feeling Stella's gaze on me, and whenever someone else would talk to me, I'd see something flicker in her eyes. Was it jealousy? I didn't know. Later that night, as we returned to our room, I could sense a tension between us, an unspoken feeling hanging in the air. I wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come. The days that followed were strange. Stella and I still spent time together, but there was a new awkwardness between us. We'd catch each other's eyes and look away, our words often trailing off into silence. I could feel something building, something I didn't quite understand but couldn't ignore. One day, I saw Stella with her boyfriend, sitting on a bench, holding hands and laughing. And in that moment, a wave of emotion hit me, an ache, a kind of loneliness I hadn't felt before. I turned away, my heart heavy. Stella noticed and looked at me, her gaze intense and questioning. That night, she asked me, "Today, when my boyfriend was touching me, you looked upset. Why?" I tried to shrug it off, but the words slipped out. "It's nothing like that." But we both knew it wasn't nothing. There was something growing between us, something neither of us dared to name. One night, Stella came back from a date, her face tear-streaked, her steps unsteady. She looked broken, more vulnerable than I'd ever seen her. Without thinking, I rushed to her side, holding her as she cried. "He cheated on me," she whispered, her voice trembling. We sat in silence, her head on my shoulder, my hand gently stroking her hair. When her sobs subsided, she looked up at me, her eyes glistening with tears. "I don't know what love is anymore," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Is it all just fake?" I took her hand and held it. "No, Stella, true love isn't about appearances or fleeting attractions. It's something deeper, something like," I hesitated, the words caught in my throat. "Like ours," she whispered, her gaze locked with mine. I nodded, my heart pounding. In that moment, everything felt right. We didn't need words, we just knew. From that night, things changed between us. We acknowledged our feelings, but we also knew that life was complicated. We were young, still finding ourselves, and we didn't want to lose sight of our goals. So we made a pact, a promise to focus on our studies first, to prioritize our futures, and let our feelings grow in their own time. Our friendship deepened, and the love between us was strong and patient. We didn't need labels or declarations, we just needed each other's presence and support. Looking back, I realize that love isn't about the thrill or the rush. True love is about understanding, patience, and growing together. I learned that the strongest connections come when we allow ourselves to grow individually while supporting each other. And that's what Stella and I had, a bond built on trust, understanding, and respect. So that's my story. I came to this place a stranger, lost and unsure. But I left with a friend, a partner, and a love that taught me to be stronger, kinder, and truer to myself.